Welcome to the Ignis Sport channel. Today we're covering clutch replacement and problems with your clutch. Now this is the old disc, which wasn't that badly worn, but it's taken a hammering. So the springs here, all hammered, all loose, marked on the edges. Now these springs help to take up the drive smoothly on the clutch. Here's the wear on the diaphragm from the release bearing. Not ideal, time to change this as well. Here's all the dust in the bell housing. Of particular concern is the build up around the clutch release fork here. I'm also changing the spigot bearing. Press it in if you can. I've removed the flywheel and just tapped the old one out. Try not to hammer these in. So this is the bearing spec. The old one was worn out. Untighten all bolts to Suzuki spec. This clutch was less than £100 from shopping around on the internet. This video isn't a full instruction on clutch replacement. It's just to give some tips for the Ignis and any problems you might have with the clutch. So you will need a torque wrench for this job. Here's some nice pictures of the new plate. This is an OEM spec clutch. Again, the new one a lot nicer. Nice tight springs. Good thickness of friction material. So this is part of a bigger job, but whilst the gearbox is off, you have to do the clutch. Now Suzuki have the full procedure for replacing the bearings for this release arm. This dust builds up in the bearing. Being clutch dust, it's frictional and it will make your mechanism stiff. Here's the wear on the shaft. Now I could feel when I got the gearbox off the car that this shaft was too tight. Any friction in the lever will be magnified once it's under load. So here's the wear on the shaft at the bottom. This needs cleaning, possibly a light Scotch-Brite. If there's any play in this mechanism, then you have to rebush and possibly change the lever as well. Use lots of brake cleaner here to clean all the gunk out. Obviously, clutch friction material creates friction and it works its way into this bottom pivot particularly, which you can't access whilst the gearbox is on. Now this was cleaning up okay, but it still had some friction there. Suzuki will also tell you to remove the oil seal at the top, which is a rubber lip seal. If you had to replace these oil-like bearings from Suzuki, along with the rubber seal and possibly the arm, I'm sure you'll have to pay a fair amount of money. This car has a tendency to snap clutch cables, which it has already in the past. Also, it's been known that clutch pedals can break along with the associated bracketry, and also release forks as well have been known to break. The clutch action on these cars should be as light as a feather and buttery smooth, so over time it gradually gets worse. Now I'll continue cleaning this pivot point here. And as I say, it cleaned up fairly well, but it wasn't until they added WD-40 to it that it re-energised the oil lights, and then they soaked up the oil, and then they gained life again. And it also cleaned Suzuki's spec grease on these pivot points here, grease on the end of the forks, a light smearing of grease on the splines, and some light grease where the clutch release bearing slides. So we did all that. The retaining pin here should be not reused, but I hadn't got one for Suzuki this week. So this week Suzuki's warehouse was down, the computer was down, and they can't sell me any parts this week apparently. So this is part of a bigger job, head gasket replacement. Hope this is useful to you. Thanks for watching. Just to add, today the clutch was installed and the car's been driven, and the clutch is transformed from being on off and heavy to being feather light and progressive. So there you go. Hope this helps.